Hello everybody, welcome to this webinar. It's produced by Business Performance USA. Today we're honored to have you as our guests, and we know you'll gain a great deal from today's presentation. Business Performance USA produces weekly webinars on Tuesdays at noon Central to provide business insights on a variety of topics important to business professionals. In the very near future, special occasional webinars may be offered starting at 1:30 p.m. Central. Business Performance USA is a voluntary association that provides online business information exchange, which may be engineered for privacy. When you become an open member, you can meet people from across the U.S. who engage in serious business conversations on topics such as we are presenting today. You may become an open member at no cost and engage at any time. Just go to businessperformanceusa.org. One of the many benefits is that you will be able to hear on demand all of the webinars we presented at a time most convenient to you, including today's webinar. Our webinar today, as you can see, is titled Social Media Strategies, Twitter for Business. I am Dr. Jeff Stewart, first speaker and Board of Trustees, Board of Directors, CXO agent for JAS LLC. My colleagues and I, both here in North America and around the world, all focus on growing your leads, growing your business, and growing your value. I'll be co-hosting this webinar for the next hour with Victor Dominguez. Victor, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Victor Dominguez here, Managing Director of the Ligature Group. I'll be co-hosting today, although, of course, Kenna Lewis is our primary presenter. Ligature Group is in the communications, branding, and culture business, and we share our practices here with Business Performance USA to help your companies develop the right kind of culture to have a unassailable brand. And my job here today will just be monitoring questions and chat. So if you do have a question, please just enter it into either the questions feature or the chat feature, whatever is most intuitive to you. You can find that on the toolbar. And I will ask that question for you. We do have our audience muted so that we can minimize background noise, but we want to make sure your questions get asked, and we will do that for you. You can write down my email address as well, and you can ask a question later on. As you're putting these practices into fruition there with your own organization, you may have a question down the line. You can email me at victor@businessperformanceusa.org, victor@businessperformanceusa.org, and quite likely I will loop in Kenna Lewis to help answer your question. But we're here to help, we're here to serve, and we're happy to have you with us today. So having said that, Jeff, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, I want to remind everybody that the webinar is being recorded and it may be viewed at a later date. It usually takes a day or two to get it all posted and cleaned. Just visit us in the meanwhile or at any time on site at www.businessperformanceusa.org. Please feel free to become an open member and find this webinar recording alongside others under videos in the member section. So your executive presenter today is Kenna Lewis, founder and owner of Social Centric Media, a firm that converts collaboration through social media into your competitive cultural advantage. Kenna is an energetic entrepreneur who first excelled in corporate America with Fortune 500 companies. Then she founded the Leadership Institute for Kansas City, a firm that provides leadership development and coaching. Kenna also founded Social Centric Media, known widely as the Sassy Socialista. Kenna applies new developments and tracks forward trending in SEO, local search, and reputation management, all in order to advance client campaigns and optimize their budgets. Kenna shares how social media marketing can produce high levels of results in coordinated short and long-range campaigns for businesses who are eager to claim growth and sustainability in their market shares. In addition, and this is very important, Kenna has founded CTR, Craving Talk Radio of Kansas City, a web radio channel and station which features a diversely seasoned variety of personal, professional, and cultural topics that enhance the quality of independent live streams everywhere. We'll let you in at the end of our webinar today on some breaking news from CTR. I think it's time to pass the screen to our executive presenter, Kenna Lewis.
I'm happy to talk about Twitter because Twitter is the application that I think businesses totally underestimate. And they don't understand it, and they don't know how to use it, and yet it can be the social media app that extends your reach all over the place. If you take a look at historically what happened and why I think Twitter just went viral so quickly, when you look at MySpace and Facebook, which were usually the two social media platforms people would use years ago, it was always about knowing the person. So you had to extend a friend request, and they had to accept it in order for any dialogue to occur. Twitter, what was so unique about it was that you didn't have to have people as a friend. You could follow anyone. They could follow you back. You could build all new relationships, and it didn't have to be with people that you knew, which I know for some people that might seem scary, but when it comes to business, it's huge. When you take a look at the state of Twitter in 2013, and this was as of December, and I haven't found a new slide yet for 14, but you can take a look at what's happening with the platform. 63% of brands on Twitter have multiple accounts, and I'm going to show you how extensive that is in just a minute. 33 million, the most followed brand on Twitter is YouTube. Now, Vine is an interesting app, and it's only 6 seconds long. Twitter is the owner of Vine, and we're going to do a webinar in the near future on other social media apps, and I actually have a couple of customers I'm working with in the United States that are actually starting to use Vine to get their message out in a very unique, creative way. So when you take a look, you can tell that Twitter is one of the social media apps that is growing quickly. So Twitter marketing, how great. All I see is 140 characters, and I don't see how I can do anything with it. Well, it's a pretty powerful strategy and a pretty powerful component to your marketing and social media branding. You can promote your brand, you can interact and support your fan base, and yes, you can have a fan base. Monitor what people are saying about your company and brand, which is huge. A lot of people use it very much for customer service. Southwest Airlines was probably one of the initial ones that if somebody was very unhappy with their service, they would reach out to them and ask for an email or something so they could talk online. I remember I used Sprint, and at one point my Sprint service was down. And instead of going to try to find out through the Sprint phones, which would probably be backlogged or jammed, I actually went to Twitter to find out that there was an outage and that it would be back up by tomorrow morning. So it was a quick, easy way for me to find out what was happening with my service. You can promote thought leadership and industry expertise and develop direct relationships with bloggers, journalists, customers, and potential customers. Huge. And we'll talk about that more in detail. Now, as I mentioned before, there are companies that use Twitter with every one of their brands. So instead of Kraft just having a Kraft Twitter account, they'll actually have it for the brands that you see here. So this is representative of how many of the big corporations have multiple social media accounts for each on Twitter for everything that they do. Now, it's important to understand a little bit of Twitter vocabulary, especially for those people who, are very new to Twitter or just believe that they don't get it. A Twitter handle is also known as your username. And so in this case, BPUSA.org has their own Twitter account, and that's their Twitter name or Twitter handle. Do not use something random when you create your own, like I Love Christmas, because it's a lost branding opportunity. Make sure you put something in that reflects your company name or what you're all about. Don't use numbers unless your brand name uses numbers. It's kind of unprofessional and juvenile, and people think you remember the AOL chat days. It's a reminder of that. Don't use an underscore. I'm starting to see them a little bit more, possibly because some names have already been used. But it's not usually done and isn't been the norm for Twitter to date. When you follow someone on Twitter, you decide you want to follow that person's tweets. You simply follow by hitting the follow button on the person's specific Twitter page, and their updates or tweets will now be displayed on your home Twitter page. Now you can follow.
Ken, a quick question, if I may.
Yeah.
Would it be a good idea to go in and tie up a number of Twitter names for your company so that somebody else doesn't squat on them or get them ahead of you? So maybe one with your company name, maybe one with your primary product name, and tie it up. And is there a penalty, if you will, for sitting on a Twitter name?
No, there's not. I'm hearing, and I've done that recently. I'm hearing echo. I had a new account that I'm doing called Success Skills Weekly, and I'm getting a tremendous amount of echo. Thank you. So what happened is Success Skills was already taken, and somebody's been sitting on that for probably over a year. They've never tweeted on it. So obviously I couldn't use that, so I had to create a new name, which was Success Skills WK. So yes, you can do that. It might be advantageous to you if you have a lot of different brands or a lot of different products that you want to do with. However, make sure that don't expect anything if you're just letting them sit there. And we'll get into that a little bit more, because people aren't going to follow you unless you build out your Twitter page appropriately. But yeah, if you want them for when you're ready to put it out, sure, you can do that and sit on it, and there's no charge for doing that. So when you follow back someone that has followed you. And that's really important, because that's the only way you really develop a relationship. You get to see their tweets, they get to see yours, you can comment on them and so forth. So it's important to follow people back if you think they're not spammy or inappropriate or just not something you want. Sometimes there are people I may not follow back when I take a look because it's a foreign language I totally don't understand, and I take a look at their account and see if I think it's a potential spam by just what's being put out, how many times they tweet, and that. But usually I pretty much try to follow back anybody, because that always provides a relationship for us to build on. Look at their page. Again, if they have a legit user picture and background, also figure out what their ratio is on following to follower. Now, because most people don't understand how to use Twitter wisely, Twitter will allow you to follow up to 2,000 people. They won't let you follow 2001 until you have about 1,851 followers back. So sometimes you will go in and you'll see somebody who has 2,000, they're following 2,000 people and have 120 people following them. So if you follow them now and they have not followed you back, they will not be able to until that ratio increases. One, you know that they're a business or a person who doesn't understand Twitter, and you know they're not going to be able to follow you back, so that may be a lost conversation. So it's important to understand some of these basic Twitter rules about following and followers in order to make sure that people see you as a legit business on Twitter. Follower is a person who is subscribed to receive your updates. You can view your total number of followers on your Twitter profile page. Status update tweets, they're 140 characters. I remember when Stephen Colbert said at one time that he believed that all of every thought process and philosophy had now been turned into being able to communicate on only 140 characters. So it is doable to get a lot of message out in that time frame, but if you're also linking back to a blog post or a Facebook post, you'll see the beginning of the post and then it'll actually create a URL link back to the full thing. So don't worry that if you're putting up a Facebook post or a blog post that people won't see it. They'll see the beginning, which may be very important for you to make sure that opening line on a Facebook post or a blog post is eye-catching, because then they'll put a URL up to keep you within the 140 character limit. Reply. An @ in front of a Twitter handle username is a public message sent from one Twitter user to another. So right now, if I wanted to communicate to bpusa.org from one of my Twitter accounts, I would say @bpusa.org, great webinar, I'm really excited to hear about this. Or I'd love to join, can you give me information again how to join as a free member? So just by hitting that @ and the username, you're communicating directly with that person. And they also can communicate back to you, and that's where conversations start. So one of the things you can do, they've now changed it to interactions, notifications, depending on which Twitter update you have on your page, because they've not changed everybody over to their newest one. So if you hit the @connect at the top page or notifications when you log on, you'll see all the people that are directly trying to talk to you, because those will only be the people that have mentioned your Twitter username. So they may be asking you a question, they may be giving you a shout out, they may be thanking you for something. So that's where real relationships can be built. So you check that every single solitary time you get on Twitter. A direct message is a private message sent from one Twitter user to another. And there's a little envelope that is on your Twitter page, and those show you all the direct messages. So nobody else can see those. Those are just a very private discussion. A lot of times people will do a direct message to say, thank you for the follow, would you please select my Facebook page? Or you can get them to your website from this. So this is another way to get traffic to your website, by sending this direct message. I usually set it up with my clients to go back to their Facebook page, just because that's my default, because Facebook is just going crazy, and your reach is going down to almost 0 on your Facebook pages. So this at least allows somebody to potentially go in and like your page and see it, and maybe then respond so they can see more stuff on Facebook. But I've done testing with different companies. We've sent them back to an offer or a product. We've sent them back to their website page. We've sent them back to their blog. So people change their DM messages to see what they want most and what is working best for them. Think of it, it's a great thing to think of it's Twitter's version of an email inbox. And many viruses, though, this is kind of the note thing, reside in DMs. So again, you do have to be very cautious when you hit them. Twitter's gotten much, much better about trying to clean those out. But there was a time where I was hesitant to click on any, because even ones that I knew were probably legit, because what they did is put a virus in that would now send a direct message to everybody that was connected with you. And in some of my accounts, when you've got 20,000 people, you don't want that to happen. So they've really done a good job of cleaning that up. But again, you have to look at the direct message, see if it looks spammy, err on the side of caution, and don't hit a link in there if you think that you shouldn't. Any other questions, Victor? Okay, I'll keep going.
Not at this time, thanks.
Okay, Twitter stream. Twitter stream is a list of people's wow, I didn't spell that well. Real-time updates. Every time you post an update, it goes into your Twitter stream. Now let's talk about hashtags. Everybody knows about hashtags. Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon did a funny video on Saturday Night Live about hashtags, where they were hashtagging everything they said. And if you haven't seen it, it's quite cute. It's a tagging system used to gather the conversation about an event, topic, or theme. Obviously, the World Cup's coming up in Brazil. That will be a hashtag. You will see major games, St. Louis and Kansas City with the I-70 thing. There will be a hashtag for that. I don't over hashtag. There are people that do way too much of it, but it's great if you want to get into a conversation that's trending. I will tell you that I've gotten clients by posting on trending topics, especially locally. So if Sporting Kansas City can trend in the Kansas City area, and I'm watching a Sporting Kansas City game, and I go in and talk about a goal or how they're not playing defense very well or whatever, I've actually developed relationships because of somebody else loves Sporting Kansas City as well, and I've gotten clients for that. When you do a large event like a conference, you will see hashtags created, and that is a fabulous way to use a hashtag. If you're at a conference, you can see by just going to that hashtag and seeing everybody's tweets about it, you will be able to figure out what's going on. Maybe there's something that wasn't on an agenda that was published that is happening in a booth. You may be able to go to that, and you can respond and even meet people there that you may have a genuine business connection you would like to establish with through trending hashtags at a conference. So there are times that hashtags are great. Don't put them in every tweet. Don't put them in every 5 tweets unless you're, again, at a conference and you're doing something like that, or there's Sporting Kansas City, or you're watching a World Cup game. Because if you're doing it for a lot of different things, people will probably try to tune you out. Tweetup. A Tweetup is an event specifically organized for Twitter users to meet up and network, usually informally. You can have a Tweetup, and basically what you do, all the conversation happens on Twitter. So you can say, instead of like having a webinar, we could do a Tweetup, and I'm going to talk to you about Twitter through Twitter, and you can ask me questions, and I can give you information. It used to happen more. I still see some of them happening. I think that people have to make sure that the people they're trying to talk to is on Twitter, and you have to make sure you've got something relevant to talk about, because if you're just doing it to be doing it, then people will fade off pretty quickly. But I've been to a couple that were great, and I've been some that were horrible. But it is something that you can do if you've got a small group of fans and you want to talk about something like a possible new product launch, or even a product launch, and maybe there's something that you're getting a lot of calls on from your phone, and you've got questions from your customers. Make sure you put it on Twitter, but you can also do a little tweet up and say, hey, anybody else have any questions at 3 o'clock? I'm going to be on to answer anything. So you can do that in a live format. Retweeting. A retweet is an action where you see a tweet that you really love, and you want to retweet that to all your followers. And that's a great way to, again, tell somebody they had a great tweet, you really liked it, and what that does is usually starts now building a relationship with the person who did that tweet. Because anytime I get retweeted in any of my accounts, I usually thank them, because that's really important, because now all their followers are seeing my tweet. And think about that. That's how you get reach that's unheralded right now in any other social media platform. If I put a tweet out, and let's just say 5 of my followers retweeted that, but they each had 20,000 followers, 5 times 100,000 people have now seen my tweet and seen my brand name. You can't do that on Facebook, even for a lot of money. So that's why the reach on Twitter is huge. Favor. This is when someone favors one of your tweets. I thank them. They haven't retweeted it, but they said that's one of their favorite tweets. So again, that's a pat on the back for you, so thank them for doing that. Now, Twitter lists are public lists that any Twitter user can create. Twitter lists generate Twitter streams that include specific Twitter users. So if you're a local, say you're in Tulsa or you're in Kansas City or you're in Nashville, and you want a list of all Nashville businesses, create a Twitter list. And you can put all the businesses that either you follow or follow you into that list, so you can make sure you see their tweets and sometimes not the rest of your tweets, because you'll only see the tweets that are in this list. It's a great way to sometimes take your Twitter stream, which is intense and huge if you have a lot of people following you and you're following them, and make it softer, make it smaller, so you can really get the people that are critical for you. I'm on a lot of different lists, and that's also a good thing. When people start putting you on their lists, you've arrived, because people want to make sure they see what you're tweeting about. And you can always go to Twitter on lists, and it'll say create one or member of, and you can start seeing the people that have put you on your list. Another great way to potentially build relationships for people who think your Twitter feed is important enough to see on a regular basis. So here's one, Sorority Corner. She creates lists, so she's got philanthropy related, Greek sororities, Greek college chapters, Greek alum chapters, sorority gear retail, college help, and a private list of people she converses with. So what she can do is, let's say not a lot's going on, and she wants to take a look at Greek alum chapters and just see what's going on with the Greek alum chapters in the country. She'll take a quick look at just that list and be able to quickly retweet, do a shout out, maybe if they had a question about something, answer them back, and she can concentrate just on that at that one time. So lists are a great way to make smaller segments of people to either talk to, shout out to, or get their name out, and vice versa. Trending topics. Now, it's displayed on the left hand of your Twitter homepage, and there were... Yes, Victor?
I do have a question from the audience. Thanks for taking it.
Sure.
When you thank someone for a favor or whatnot, would you send it over a direct message, or is it a public broadcast?
I do it on public. I really don't use DM that much except to thank people, or if they've asked me a question, I'm answering it back. One, because, again, I hate to say it's a little vanity, but it's a little vanity. If you're thanking somebody, then obviously, you want other people to say, hey, thank you for the retweet, because people are going to see, wow, this person gets retweeted a lot. That's pretty cool. So do it publicly. Trending topics. Take a look at the person, see if you want to follow them. So again, if you're a baseball person or a soccer person or whatever, World Cup comes on and the USA is playing, and your company is national in focus, I would look at the USA, because they will be trending every time on Twitter. So you can take a look at that trend and just kind of look, maybe answer a few, see if somebody will retweet you. But you can also find people that really care as much as you do about a certain subject, and you can follow them and they'll follow you back. I do it a lot during, local basketball games, KU basketball, and I've gotten a lot of followers that way. I'll tweet something out about the game or about Rock Talk Jayhawk, and it's amazing the people that will just follow me back from that, because it's trending on Twitter and they're following everybody that's talking about the Jayhawks at that time. So trending topics is a place that you can pick up people that have the same interests that you do. And in a world that can be pretty cold and sterile at times through social media, that's one of the great things that Twitter does allow you to do, is find people that have the same focus and energy and likes that you do. Now, there's such a thing as called promoted tweets. There are tweets, and you'll see promoted. People have paid to have their tweets promoted, and it is not cheap. So for most businesses, I would say don't do that, because it's really, really expensive, but that's what a promoted tweet is. When you do a shout out, is when somebody calls out your name and it isn't involved with the retweet, favor, or conversation. Thank them or talk back to them. I can get at Leadership KC, you know, what's your latest class? And I'm like, thanks for the shout out, and here it is. Or somebody could just say, hey, Leadership Kansas City, what's going on? How's your Monday? So there will be conversations like that. And anytime somebody uses your username or Twitter handle and it's not a retweet or whatever, thank them, talk to them, because obviously they're reaching out to you for a reason. Now, Twitter's networking. It's a relationship building and relationship maintenance tool. The business uses of Twitter is to meet potential customers and leads just like you would at a networking event. So think about it like that. Think about it as you would use it go to a networking event and network. Think about Twitter that way. So you can generate leads, you can create buzz, and we kind of talked about this a little bit in the beginning, and we're going to talk about some of these things more. Now I want you to sign up to get started on Twitter and decide if you want a personal or business account. They are different, and you can have multiple. I do still have a personal account. Kenna Lewis, I bet I haven't touched that because I do everything on Leadership KC now, both personal and business. And I've got over 20,000, 21,000 followers now, so that's just easy for me to do. I probably should delete my other account, but I haven't yet. Twitter will ask you if you want to find your friends. You have to follow a few people so you get in the hang of it if you've never opened up a Twitter account. But so decide what your name is and if you want it to be personal or business. And personalize your profile. Do this before you ever interact with anybody. Twitter gives you kind of an egg, is what we call it, for your logo or where you would put your face picture or a picture of your van or whatever. Make sure that you do that immediately. Put a logo, put your face up there, because I will not follow anybody who's an egg. Just won't. Because I know they're not either taking Twitter seriously or they may have just started and said, this is too complicated for me, I'm not going to do anything. So that's the first thing. A lot of times people will also look at your background, and there's Twitter backgrounds that are there. You can take your logo, you can take pictures, you can put those on your background, and again, you can make it look very professional. And people are going to follow you quicker if you have those things in place. So make sure you do that. Before you follow one person, besides the one Twitter makes you follow, start tweeting. So this gives potential followers an idea of who you are and what you're going to be talking about. Yes, you can put, hi, Twitter world, this is my first Twitter, but tweet some more about your business, about your product, but don't make it all about you. Things that are going on, ask people questions. So what are your goals for June? You know, what's a professional goal? What do you think of the weather? So do different things so they can see you as a person, not just a business, but also what your business reflects. So do a few tweets before you start following people. Now, I usually tell people to stay away from politics, religion, or anything controversial on their business page. I know that seems sensible, but some people can't, have really difficult time doing that, and they can get into arguments with people, and there are going to be people that block them, and there are going to be people that don't follow them anymore because of it. So just know that if you do talk about those things on your business page, what you have the potential of doing to your brand. So stay away from it if you can. If it's extremely important to you that you do it, I would get a personal account. But if you're going to do it on your business page, know what could happen from that. Talk about events you are attending, webinars like this one, conferences you're going to, your content, a recent blog post or article that you want others to see, someone else's content. If there's a great article that pertains to what my business is about, like working with Verify My Past right now, they do personal background checks. so you can know what's going to happen before you go get hired by a company if there's anything wrong. And believe me, there is a lot wrong, especially if you have a common name. So I know that a lot of people who are using that service are looking for jobs. So I will tweet out or put Facebook posts about information about job hunting, resume writing or whatever, because the clients that are coming to look for you, those are probably the things that they need help on or the areas that they're going through. So I will, find a Forbes article or Mashable or something that pertains and give that information out when I think it's useful. Start a conversation. Sports are particularly awesome to do. Tweet like you would talk at a networking event. What would you talk about there? Now here's where I'm going to give you that big warning. You can delete a tweet, but people may have seen it, and it is archived on the internet. And we know that there are people who have gotten into a lot of trouble because they thought they were on their personal account and they tweeted from their business account. KitchenAid, who did, it was a young man who did a horrible tweet during the political debates, and that was, how long ago that was for president, and they still have lost so many millions of dollars they're not caught up to the people who canceled contracts with them because the tweet was so inappropriate. So think about that. Make sure that if you have somebody that is not you tweeting, make sure that you really talk to them, educate them, train them, because you don't want somebody putting it out. And don't assume because somebody's young and they understand Twitter that's the great person to have do for your account, because sometimes those are things that they don't think about and tweet inappropriately. So just be careful with that. Now, following people. This is the most time-consuming, frustrating, challenging, but important part of Twitter. Nothing happens overnight. You do not go viral on any social media platform, so it takes time, so you have to be consistent. By following people, you get to find out about them, their business, their lives, content they love to read or develop. So you have to follow them. Twitter recommendations on who to follow are potential, but they're going to do that based on who they see you follow already. Or if you follow a lot of people in Tulsa, then they're going to give you recommendations of businesses in Tulsa. If you are more national in scope, they'll do recommendations based on what they see. But I like to search for keywords of people in my industry. It's a great way to follow what your competition's doing. It's also a great way to follow people who may be interested in what you're doing. I always look if it's a local business, and I really start focusing on those local companies first. And I sometimes, if a company, I have one right now, PCS VoIP, and they're national, international in scope. So I will take time and I will build up their Kansas City area, and then I'll go national. And I'll come back and then relook at who's going in Kansas City, and I'll go national. So that way they get flavor because they are in 49 states and Canada. So it's important that Kansas City businesses support them and vice versa, because that's an easy coffee and easy sale. But I also, because of their scope, want to follow people nationally. So I may look for small businesses in Cincinnati and follow those for a while. So look at people lists. If you've got people that, like Kansas City Business Tweets, that's a list that's in Kansas City. I may find that list, and then I'll start following all the people on that list. Follow people that people you engage with are following. Follow bloggers, thought people in your industry, reporters, PR people. Collect people's Twitter handles from conferences. Most will have them. And the blogger thing I'm going to touch on in a little bit more, but that's really important to look at. People in your area that may need last-minute tips for PR. So don't follow too many people at once. Twitter has policies against aggressive following, and if you go and follow too many people, they can shut your account down. You'll just have to say, mea culpa, I'll never do it again, and they'll give you everything back. But so if you've got a brand new account, follow 50 people your first day, and then follow no more than 200 people in 3 days. So this, because I know we're kind of running out of time, Twitter is one of those things that there is so much information about, but again, one of the best social media platforms for you to be on. So never follow over 100 people a day, especially when you're starting out. But follow active people. I don't care how cool they are, but if they haven't tweeted recently, don't follow them. One, they're probably not on to follow you back, and they're not going to get your information if they're inactive. Now, here's the painful part of Twitter. You have to unfollow people to keep the magic going. So I usually unfollow people if they don't follow one of my clients back within 3 to 5 days. If they aren't active, stop following them. I unfollow people if they haven't tweeted for 30 days, even if they follow me. Because again, I have to keep my number, it's a numbers game, and I have to keep my ratio of followers to following pretty similar, so that I will unfollow them. When you get to the 1,000 mark, follow 75 a day and unfollow that many. When you get to the 2,000 mark, I follow 100 a day and unfollow between 75 and 150 people. When I get to 2,000, I always want to have more followers than I'm following. Because once you do that, the Twitter bots kind of leave you alone. And that's important. Plus, for people who are looking at your numbers, it's important to them to see that there are more people following you than you're following. So engage. People look for accounts that have a consistent image and are active. Talk to people. Retweet and use shout-outs. Do a Follow Friday. And that's just a hashtag FF on Friday. And accounts that have shouted you out, retweeted, favor, put those in your Follow Fridays. The important thing about that is if you've got 10 accounts in a Follow Friday, all those people are going to see that. And they're going to, because they're going to probably retweet that out and thank you. That's how you can also get reach really quickly and really fast. So Follow Friday, I think, is great. An important technical rule is the use of the @ which is the beginning of every account's handle. If you start a tweet to someone with that @ only that person and those who follow both of you will see the tweet. So you can have a semi-private conversation. To make the tweet appear in the timelines of everyone who follows you, then add a character or a word before the sign. So in this example here, they just put a period. So now everybody saw it. But he still was only talking to Dan at the time. So, or he was talking to Senator John McCain, Dan was. So if you put any kind of symbol or word in front of the @ now everybody will see it. So Twitter is a great marketing tool. It drives traffic. You can go to your Connect tab every time you log on, respond, and engage. Send them to a webinar sign-up page. If you find someone tweeting about your products or a person who's looking for a solution that your products provides, let him or her know. So if you've pulled up your local city, like Tulsa or Kansas City, LA, whatever, and I'm looking at Kansas City tweets, there are going to be times when people say, I'm looking for a new telecommunication solution. Does anybody have an idea? So I'll write back and say, hey, add PCS VoIP, talk to them, here's their phone number, give them a call. They'll save you a ton of money. So make sure that you do that. Use favorite tweets as testimonials. Now, a lot of times if people really like what you're tweeting about, I mean, you can send people to the page that says, here are all these third-party testimonials about how great you are. It used to be people didn't favor tweets as much as they do now, so it's lost a little bit of that shiny gold medal type thing, but still important because you get a good feel of what people are responding to on both retweets and favors. What are they liking to see? So you know that you can tell them more about your product if it's product related, or if it's inspirational related. People will respond to that, but when they respond to that, they see your other stuff too.
Kenna?
Yes.
Victor here. I've got a question from the audience. I want to make sure we get it in. So sorry for the interruption. This individual asked the question, or it's really a situation, quote, I'm following 2,000 people across my varied clients and their industries. Twitter won't let me follow any more. Any way around this?
You have to unfollow people. So if you have 2,000 people, you have to unfollow. And that's why I never hit that 2,000 mark unless I'm at about 1,851, because that's what you need to be at. So go back, look at the people, because I bet you'll have people that haven't tweeted in a year, and unfollow those people if they're not active. If people aren't following you back, even if you're following them, they don't see your tweets, you can't build a relationship, unfollow those people. So that's how, then once you start lowering the number that you're following, then you can follow more people, but that's why the painful part of Twitter is unfollowing and following to keep that ratio pretty consistent. That's the only way around it.
Thanks, Kenna.
Now, Twitter for PR. Businesses are increasingly using Twitter for customer support. Again, develop relationships with reporters, bloggers, and other people through Twitter. Follow some critical people in your town. You know, go look. Sometimes they won't follow you back right away, but look at your news channels, your radio channels, your newspapers, because a lot of times they'll have a deadline, and they're going to look for last-minute quotes on something, or somebody who might have an experience. And you can make a Twitter list yourself of just all the PR people in your area. And you can take a look when you log on and see what they're looking for. And you might be able to build a relationship, get in, I mean, great free PR if they put you on a news article or they bring you down to the station to interview. So Sorority Corner, which was one of mine, got a Forbes article just by responding to a question. I didn't even realize that the person was for Forbes. It was me doing it, and on Sorority Corner, and they were talking about social media, so it was mine to respond. And so through Twitter, he asked a couple questions, and we responded back. And 2 days later, he sent me a link, or sent Sorority Corner a link, and said, here you go. So there's a Forbes article on what successful entrepreneurs do in social media, and she's number 1 or 2 mentioned. And what we responded back, that it's still about relationships, about building those relationships. So, I mean, Forbes, not a bad place to be, and she did get hits to her website and clients from just that mention on a Forbes article. So be on the lookout for editorial opportunities. Share tips. If you see a reporter wanting information about something, you know, maybe you're not the person to give it to them, but you know someone who is, send them their way. I mean, they're going to love you for that. Again, it's about building relationships with those people because it can be free publicity for you. So you can DM reporters and bloggers because short and sweet. Some like DMs better than emails. So reach out to those people in your community. And again, but you're trying to be helpful. Yes, you're going to get your name out, and that's what you ultimately want, but it's not all about you. You're trying to help those people, and in turn, believe me, they'll help you back. So people are using it for customer service. I mentioned Southwest Airlines in the very beginning. Take a look what's going on. If somebody says something about your brand or your product, answer them. People expect, whether it's really any social media platform like Facebook or whatever, if they're talking about your brand, they expect you to answer them just as you would if they called you on the phone. So please make sure you respond. And if your company is offering a service, let them know what's going on. If it's an online service, make sure you know. like Craving Talk Radio. We're going to have a downtime later this week from 9 to midnight. I have to let my people know that there's going to be a downtime so they didn't come to listen to a show and they're not going to find anything. So it's important to get people information ahead. Plus, even if they didn't see the tweet and all of a sudden they don't hear the show at 9 o'clock, they'll probably go back to Facebook or Twitter to figure out what's going on. So make sure you post on that. So broadcast what's going on. If there's, you've got a product launch coming, or I know restaurants do this great. All of a sudden they have a downtime and it's a special. Hey, for the next 2 hours, come into our restaurant. We're going to be offering 20% off any entree. Or we're starting happy hour an hour early. Those type things are great. Open houses, great way to publicize. So I'm going to end with the 5 stages of Twitter acceptance. Denial. Twitter sounds stupid. How can you communicate in 140 characters? I don't have the time for this. And why would other people care? And I'm not the person who wants to put up what I'm having for dinner all the time. So denial. Presence. Okay, I don't get really why people love it, but maybe I should create an account because it's the thing to do, and Facebook's really not helping my business at all anymore without me paying a lot, so maybe it's time for me to jump on the Twitter bandwagon. Dumping. I'm on Twitter and I use it for pasting links to my blog posts and pointing people to my press releases. And it's all about you. Then you get to the conversing stage. I don't always post useful stuff, but I do use Twitter to have authentic one-on-one conversations. I cannot tell you how much fun that is. Once that starts happening, I can't tell you how many people have invited me to coffee based on my Twitter. And from that, I've either gotten clients or I've gotten people who are in my corner for a long time recommending me or whatever. Have those genuine conversations. It's spectacular when you get to this stage in Twitter. And then it's microblogging. I'm using Twitter to publish useful information that people read, and I still converse with them one-on-one authentically. So everybody goes through this. I think that's why I do probably more Twitter for people than anything else. They might put up their Facebook post, and I do recommend that all Facebook posts go to Twitter for your Facebook page, your business page, not your personal, but your business page. And it's just a great way to get discussion going, and Twitter's great. I've sold out T-shirts. I've done a $20,000 deal on Twitter for one of my clients. Believe me, it does take time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build 2,000 followers. So be consistent, and I will tell you, you'll see results in about 3 to 6 months. So that's really it. Do you have any more questions there for me, Victor?
I do not at this time, but I appreciate it. And people can always ask additional questions. Channel those through me, and I'll get them to Kenda. Victor@businessperformanceusa.org. And Kenna, if you could switch over the screen to me, I would appreciate it. We got a couple quick wrap-ups here. This was a lot of information, everyone. We appreciate all you folks sticking with us through this close to 60 minutes. We will be posting this webinar on, I'm just doing a little work here so you can see what's going on. We will be posting this webinar on Business Performance USA. If you can see my screen, you can see all these dozens and dozens of videos here. I'm only going to go to the first page. But you may want to watch this again, or you may want to get simply one section of this webinar and watch that. People find it very, very helpful. All you really need to do is sign up. It's free. You can go to our homepage, click on the button of our homepage, and you will see how to do that. It's quite simple. And quite frankly, we're just simply here to serve and to help and to lead. We're not selling products. We're not hucksters. We just generally feel that It's time to liberate the human potential in all of our businesses and organizations, and that's why my partners and myself started Business Performance. We brought in great folks like Kenna because we want to make the world a more productive and more fruitful and positive and culturally viable place, and we appreciate your time here today. Dr. Jeff, I'm going to turn over the audio to you. I think you have a few last words, and then we'll be out. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Victor. Can you patch me the screen for a minute? Thanks. So I don't know if everybody can see that. Let me see.
You see it?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I lost my screen control for a minute. I wanted to point out that we have several webinars coming up in June that you will enjoy, I think. Well, at least I hope you enjoy, since the first one coming up on the 10th is mine after Kenna's. I'm going to begin a series that continues probably for the next 6 to 9 months on the subject of total business competitiveness. It will begin with overviews and dive deep into areas of competitiveness in the business culture, and we'll examine that many times. I'm hoping to have people come and go and interact and begin to ask and bring their instances to the conversation. On the 17th, we're going to have Emily Shoup back. Emily is a young millennial entrepreneur who's doing exceedingly well up in the Chicago region. She's going to talk about create your culture for full team engagement. And then following that on the 24th, we'll have Nancy Roberts back for a new set of views on background screening and the culture of accountability. Again, I want to remind you to become a member and to watch our webinar series, as Victor has said. But more than anything else, I'd like to suggest that you listen closely to the breaking news which has just come to my desk. Business Performance USA's BizChat programming may now be found on Craving Talk Radio, a web radio channel casting out of Kansas City into audiences in more than 24 cities so far in the U.S. Our web radio podcasts are at your beck and call 24/7. For more information on how you may become a collaborator with BPUSA and BizChat, you might want to contact Victor at businessperformanceusa.org. So let's say thank you to Kenna for a marvelous job of reintroducing the power and potential of Twitter. That'll be it. I am done.
Thank you, everyone. You can find us at Business Performance USA. Look us up and ask us questions.